It's all brand new and it is all to play for. This track, this series, this whole shebang. This is about tradition, and now it's about how you reinvent that and bring it up to the brand new spectrum. Pro Masters have been around long before the days of my start when it's come to commentary, and in fact Pro Masters were what got me into this business. But for Pro Masters, and especially this series as well, the SimLab Pro Cup, the first round of the championship heads to one of America's more famous tracks, Watkins Glen, a circuit which prioritizes speed and control above everything else. And for these Pro Master drivers, they will have to understand today that everything is going to have to be at their very level best to start this championship. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from all around the world. I'm Jake Sperry here in the commentary booth with Hugo Louise on the cameras for this one. Qualifying is currently underway, 10 minutes to set a time or 4 laps, whichever is managed to be completed first. And these drivers understand that they have a lot to fight for in the early stages of this championship, and they know that with every single race that goes on throughout this 14-round season, they've got to make sure that they have everything on the line available. Well, the first lap times will be looking to come in the next couple of minutes or so. We, of course, are running the boot layout, not the classic version, so we will be running that very dreaded bus stop chicane. Track conditions are overcast here today, 29 degrees on the track, 30 degrees in the air. Winds are blustering in from the north at around 13-14 kilometers an hour, which is now just starting to pick itself up to about 18-19, so very much a changing track at the moment here for this one. One fast repair available to all drivers here in this one, as we are currently keeping an eye out on the number 7 machine at the moment to look at these proceedings. This is Fabio Berchtold at the moment, making his way through the right, left, and then the right of the bus stop. There's a nice bit of tarmac you can use to angle that racing line before you get a elongated run into the carousel, which arguably becomes a little bit easier coming out of that chicane at the moment. On the brakes into the left that comes along then of the chute, Alexei Usiakala's chute, when it comes to sim racing after his incident in the former iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Then you start running down the gears into the toe of the boot, and Berchtold runs a little bit wide, trying to pick up that run coming off of the exit of the corner, but he will have lost himself maybe a tenth, possibly 2, as he now climbs up the hill looking for the heel of the boot. A very difficult braking zone, 131 kilometers an hour, doesn't use all of the track either. He's very scared of picking up that one-point incident, which would invalidate the lap. Then you've got the off-camber left, which brings you back onto what you could say is the NASCAR Cup part of the circuit. As the first times come in, Uldis Putekelis is currently the quickest on a 1:43.217, but around the final corner comes along Berchtold. No runoff on that exit apart from that very high curb. You've got to be careful about running too far off on that. 1:44.114, that's good enough for third at the moment, ahead of Ollie Roetgen in the 77. Bob Kern now moves his way up into third position. Erwin Vandenberg, though, is a driver to keep an eye out on in the 53. He was looking good in his practice times. He did a 42.6 when it came to his practice session times. It's the number 4 machine we are looking at as well, as it's a 43.3 that puts him second. And we are looking, of course, at Harley Lewis in the carbon racing car. Of course, the Canadian has been a long-time veteran when it has come to sim racing, and he has been right up there at the pointy end. He's seen it, he has done it all, and he will now make his way over the line for his first lap, and he is the first man to break the 1:43 barrier. It's a 42.9 for Harley Lewis, and he gets himself there on the front as things stand for the moment. But some big drivers up and down this field will be looking to put in some times and get themselves some good work, likes of Jean-Michel Noyon, who will not be having that first time count as he spins it through the carousel, the bus stop chicane just before the carousel. Just getting a look at this one, he goes through the right, he's too heavy on the curb through the first part, has to overcorrect then through the second half of the corner, and as such Noyon has no chance to really grab that one back at his next best opportunity. So your top 5 at the moment: Lewis, Putekelis, Vandenberg, Robert the Frenchman, and Carl Crowley as well in the Torque Inc. Australia car in the number 88. A few Australians running in this one. Alan Jolly is one of them in the 064. He's in 6th position currently at the moment in this 10-minute qualifying session, which has already seen half of the time elapsed and evaporated at this early stage. He's now heading himself through this very nice and flowing infield section of the track. Not necessarily any slow corners on this circuit. The slowest you'd find is probably this toe and the heel of the boot. You don't have any tight corners like, say, a Hockenheim would. You wouldn't have any tight corners like, say, maybe just off the top of my head, maybe Circuit of the Americas would. But Watkins Glen is very much this flowing nature circuit as Henry Robert moves to the top of the timing stands. 1:42.7, he finds a bit more, and all of a sudden that 20 now finds himself in prime position with 2 laps left in terms of his times. Harley Lewis, though, gets himself even better on his 1:42.5. He jumps another 2/10 above that, and they're starting to find that their tyres are warming up here over the course of this one. Carl Crowley moves up into 3rd position after his time starts to get a bit of an improvement. And does Alan Jolly's find himself a bit more? He does. He does a 43 flat, and that puts him up into 4th position as we focus on that 666 of Aldous Putekilis, who is setting up for his final lap there. Very wide line through the Camber, turn number 10 out on track, and Putekilis has now got one banzai opportunity to make this happen as Pete Tinkler in the 44 moves himself up inside the top 5. So Putekilis is struggling here and needs to find a magical lap as he revs it up over 215 Ks to get this lap going. Downhill to the 90. People often forget this. It's downhill and then you're back up the hill again at the lowest part of the circuit, or one of them, as you now head through the sweeping S's. 2, then 3, then 4. Draft so crucial through this section as for the moment that top 5 continues to change. Berchold moves now up into 7th position. The rest of the top 10 is Vandenberg, Captain John Morgan and Bob Kern in the 66 as well. We've seen them working on the 60 Plus Racing Adventures League. Into the chicane comes Putekilis, and he is nice and neat through this section, doing what he needs as Erwin Vandenberg jumps up over him with a 43.201 up into 6th position. Now down the hill he heads along and looking for this shoot, and he's using all of that track, just trying to ease into the corner. He uses a lot of curve on that inside and just ever so slightly on that outside as well. Very much flowing like a ballerina through a lovely dance, and now nice and tight on the mid part of the corner, but uses all of the track on the exit and maybe just ran out a little bit wide coming off of that section of track, as 19 drivers so far have set a time. A few have yet to get themselves out on track to make that happen. Through the toe though, and still we are looking now at Putekilis, still looking to try and find something, just trying to get late into that apex as much as possible through that off-camber left-hander. Very similar to the final corner at the International Circuit at Sepang. Final 2 corners come along. That passing corner, eventually a flowing corner at turn 11, and finally turn 12. He ducks to 185 Ks, hits the curb nicely. What sort of time can Putekilis put in with just a minute under to go? 42.7, good enough for 2nd position just for the moment by a few thousandths of a second, 7 of them to be precise. The 20 of Henri Robert then, the Frenchman, what can he manage to do? Is he needs to find 7 thousandths for the front row, and of course he's got to find himself 2 and a bit tenths if he's to get past Harley Lewis, the Canadian. We'll see what Robert does. He's going to make his way to the line. Can he find a little bit more? He does not. 42.8 he is only able to manage. He cannot find anymore. Kari-Pekka Vietlajärvi, can he do anything in the 18 machine? And at the moment Vietlajärvi is going to make his way to the line. 46.3 his best at the moment, and he will not find any more improvements on that. Noyon does a 43.2, that jumps him up into 8th position, which is good. Harley Lewis will look to try and extend his advantage then as timer is looking to expire. Only Crowley I think has a half chance of chasing this one down and making this one work a little bit better in these overcast conditions. He does himself no set time, so he will not find any more. Timer expires here in qualifying, and the grid will look like this. Harley Lewis then will take pole position then, with Aldous Putekilis alongside in 2nd position, as we will have ourselves a pace lap before we get a start of this race. It is going to be Henri Robert starting from 3rd, Carl Crowley in 4th position. Alan Jolly will start this one from 5th, with Pete Tinkler in 6th position. And it's Erwin Vandenberg and Jean-Michel Noyon on the 4th row. Row 5 sees Fabio Berchold and John Morgan on that one, with row 6 being held by Craig Ridley and Bob Kern. Doug Woodside starts this one from 13th position with a 1:44 flat. He's got Mark Varane alongside. Olli Röttgen, the German, has himself David Bailden with him on 15th and 16th, with Scott Kirchner and Steve Kube 17th and 18th. Guilherme Cravo and Kari-Pekka Vietlajavi make 19th and 20, with Anthony Rice, the last driver who has managed to set a time, in 21st position. At the moment, currently in session, there is no Chris Aoun, no Michael Henke, and no Thomas Schmitz either, so there is doubts on them making the start. So we'll keep an eye on that one as proceedings will go. But 2 minutes to grid up then behind this beautiful safety car that they have available. It is the iRacing Porsche safety car. It's the third of the safety cars that we've seen. Of course, we've got the iRacing Roof First safety car and, of course, the Ford Mustang safety car. And I have to say, that Porsche does look ever so slightly different to the others. I do love that paint scheme of the red, the black, and the white that it has available on it. And, of course, that pace car coming in right before the start of the Porsche iRacing World Championship, which of course you can catch on the iRacing eSports network, along with things such as the eNASCAR Peak Anti-Freeze Series powered by iRacing, which has already had 2 fantastic rounds available to it. But it is Harley Lewis, the veteran in the number 4, who has the advantage in qualifying. He was saying in his pre-practice when he was trying to battle it out with Carl Crowley and get a full green flag running, they've had 10 hours and 10 minutes actually to put a lot of practice time in, so they've had pretty much all day to work on things, and for some it's been a nice rest before getting a little bit of practice in. He's been saying that he knows that he needs to get his elbows out in the early stages. He knew that he needed to fight very early on with Carl Crowley in that stint, because he knew that during the race, or he expects during the race, that anyone who has a sniff down the inside coming up to that bus stop chicane is going to try and have a look, and he's going to try and do his level best to make sure that the carbon racing car is not going to run into any troubles. Aldis Putekilis, we have seen quite a bit here with RaceSpotTV. He is one of the regulars when it comes to the European Majors Series, and he's not been someone who's had the best runs in those sorts of vehicles that he's had so far, but you have to say, when it comes to a Pro Mazda, when it's your vehicle, it certainly is your vehicle. Not everyone can drive a car like this, and not everyone is suited to that. Henri Robert had a very good qualifying effort, as did Carl Crowley and Alan Jolly as well, but all of these drivers are looking to try and make a name for themselves in the opening round of the season. This is where you set your expectations, and when the track is maybe a little bit cooler than maybe some people were expecting here at Watkins Glen today, they are going to have to know that they are going to have to keep those tyres up to temperature off of this start. We're not expecting any fuel stop strategies. Everyone is trying to run 6 gallons of fuel to get themselves to the end for safety. 5 if you're a really, really brave person. You think you can fuel save all the way through. They do say that there is a little bit of discrepancy between fuel tank loads and time, so expect those times maybe to tumble down towards the end of this one as they make their way through the toe of the boot section, the lowest part, of course, of this Watkins Glen track, which very often finds itself often surprising drivers with how much elevation change there is. Of course, in upstate New York, we are for the moment in this start of the championship, and of course, upstate New York, pretty much the home of one of our very own commentators here at RaceSpotTV, and that, of course, is Mr. Cam Walsh. So, for Harley Lewis, business as usual. He's raced this one for a very long time. He knows how this vehicle works. He's seen all the changes and he's adapted to it. And he's now got to go out and make 16 laps his own here at this beautiful, beautiful track. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, after the first lap, we will have live timing and scoring available to you. You can head over to RaceSpot.tv/timing to check that one out. But with one corner remaining, that iRacing Porsche First safety car will be looking to try and get itself down onto pit road before we get ourselves underway behind a certain Harley Lewis. Pace car will dive down in, and let's get ourselves underway. It's a green flag and we are going here at Watkins Glen, and Putecalis has already lost a position off this start to Henri Robert, who's done very well. You've also got Erwin Vandenberg trying to get down the inside of Alan Jolly into the 90, and he can hold it too wide through that section, and we are all clean through the 90 for the moment, but it's up the S's that drivers need to be careful of. How much will they get on the overspeed? Because here comes Putecalis straight back in this battle for second. Harley Lewis will now buff it when it comes to this long straight where everyone will be picking up the toe. No DRS, of course, even with the DRS markers that are there. And now pick a lane as all of a sudden Carl Crowley tries to think about the inside. He has to back out of it. Harley Lewis clear in the early stages and already battling up and down this field as we've got two wide right in the mid-pack, and that's, I believe, Guilherme Crowlow. And actually Doug Woodside now started to go aggressive here on Scott Kirkner. And Kirkner on that outside, washing out slightly when it comes to that chute. Sorry, not the chute, but the carousel. Now into the chute. He does have the inside line, but again, holding the outside. Doug Woodside doing a good job. He's got to hold that line, though, when it comes to the toe of the boot. Will he be able to make that happen? Answer for the moment seems to be yes, but he runs up a little bit, and this is going to allow another chance then to make this one work for Kirkner as they make their way to the heel of the boot. Both of them losing a lot of time at the moment to Mark Varane just in front and the train that's available. So around the outside, finally Kirkner holds on to the position, but for the time being, it is at the front Harley Lewis who holds control of this field. Sixth position, though, Pete Tinkler is under a bit of pressure here because Erwin Vandenberg had a very nice start to this event. He's looking to try and go out there and be aggressive in these early laps, and at the moment just runs slightly wide coming through the final corner, but he's got a lot of time with the draft to pull himself back into play. It's a 5-car breakaway at the front, and this is effectively the best of the rest at the moment. On the brakes into the 90, turn number 1, very aggressive goes Tinkler. That will compromise his run up the hill because he had to check up and get back in line here because of that off-track instant point with the grass, and just like that, Vandenberg around the outside has to check his run slightly through this section, and this will allow Jean-Michel Noyon the chance to go 3 wide as they battle this out then, and he goes straight down the middle, carving himself way through like a butcher through a bit of pork, and he's got the position that he's wanted. Mistake in the background then as off will go Pete Tinkler. He avoids the wall, and crucially he avoids the likes of Craig Ridley, Bertrand, Morgan, Varane, Rutgen, Kern, Kirkner, Woodside and Arnoldus, who is starting this one from the back of the field trying to make a way through. He did not set a time in qualification, so Martin Arnoldus trying to make his recovery up through the field. In second position now, though, it's Carl Crowley. He's made himself 2 positions, heading himself through, and that was coming straight out of that beautiful chicane section, the bus stop, and he went straight down the inside of both drivers who made mistakes, and those drivers, Putecalis and Robert, getting caught up on each other slightly. It has given a little bit of a gap now to Harley Lewis here, about 0.8 of a second or so. He's got an advantage, if not maybe over a second for the first time in this event, and that will be crucial for Harley Lewis's race. He's got to have that chance to break away. Over 16 laps, we're already an 1/8 of the way through this event as the Canadian leads this one away. Crowley will be using the draft as much as possible to bring himself back into play for this sort of race. It's 8.5 of a second over the lines. They make their way to the 90 once again. Noyon under pressure, though. Erwin Vandenberg is going to want to come straight back at it here in his beautiful number 53 machine. Hailing, of course, from Club Benelux, the Dutch driver looking to push a way through. And does he have that chance for the time being? He does not have that opportunity, but he will pick up that toe. Just in front of that, Putecalis starts thinking about making a dive to the inside. He thinks better of it of Carl Crowley, and he'll have to wait for another chance, as does Vandenberg, who allows now Craig Ridley to get on. But look at how Vandenberg does well through the second half of the bus stop and tried to poke away around the outside. He was peering in that left-hand mirror and was not finding a way to make that one work. So now Ridley firmly finds himself on the back, and well, it doesn't matter how many Metroid jokes I can find myself to make. It seems that you need maybe a gun as powerful as Samus Aran has to try and make a way through on this field, as there's a spinner, and that is Carl Crowley on the outside of the boot there, and he gets himself through the toe. He lost it all on his own, and actually Putecalis is very lucky that he has got away with just 2 positions lost. He got a tag trying to go the long way around. Let's get a replay on this one then. Brought to you by And One Designs, the official graphics partner partners here at RaceSpotTV, and Protectless does so well to firstly, A, avoid the vehicle, and secondly, not find the Armco barrier as well. It's given the gap that's needed to Harley Lewis, but that's what cold tyres can do in the early stages. Just a slow oversteer spin, and like that, the race has completely changed for those drivers. It's now Henri Robert in second position, third currently Alan Jolly here in this one. Protectless is now down to fourth. It's a top 5 battle now as Jean-Michel Noyon and Erwin Vandenberg, now start to scrap it out. Again, Noyon runs a little bit wide, but he will be able to get the faintest fringes of draft coming up from all these Protectlists as they head their way up through the 90, up through the S's here after the 90 and looking to push away up through, but I think fuel saving, maybe not really the biggest strategy, but timing the move, waiting for the right time as Alan Jolly can't make the move happen. Vandenberg's going to search for a good run here through the mid part of this bus stop, and again, he gets a really good run and maybe peaks to the inside. No, not quite going to be able to make that happen. Train, though, behind a certain Martin Arnoldus, who has got past Ollie Roetgen, but you've got Bob Kern, Scott Kirchner, and also David Belden as well in the 62 Club Oz NZ, all in this 5-car little train at the moment, trying to keep themselves all together. This one going on at the moment 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. And at the moment, they do not have anything that they can do to make a move at the moment. But keep that in mind, the minor positions may mean something from now until the end of this championship, and they all understand that as much as possible. Right now, Robert is not having the best of times, and actually it will be Protectless to keep an eye out on in the mid-stage of this race, because Protectless will be trying to reel those two down in front, and if he's bringing Noyon, Vandenberg, Ridley and Berchold all together with this, we could have a 7-car train battling it out for 2 spots on the podium. Gap at the front, though, is 2.8 seconds. It was a 43 flat that last time by from Harley Lewis, and in fact, Jean-Michel Noyon was a slightly bit quicker that last time by, and he now finds himself probably best placed on the fastest lap that last time around. But Alan Jolly starts thinking about second position on Henri Robert. That gap, a 1/10 and a half, a car length now, half a car length. And does he pull out to the inside? No, he lifts out of it. He backs off of it. He does not want to move himself up into second position. That is a very, very telling thing, as there's a mistake coming in from Vandenberg, and that's taken out Ridley, and that was not the plan, as that was all about a mistake through the first part of the chicane, and then just looping back onto the racing line, desperate to try and save it. Ridley was an innocent bystander as both go into the tyres, and both will now have to take a tow and use a fast repair to get themselves back out and racing once again. Not the plan, not at all over the course of this one. So they will both drop massively back over the course of this race, and that was not what they were wanting at all. It's also worth keeping in mind that Pete Tinkler as well has got himself a lot of work to do. He's down trying to fight with Guilherme Cravo at the moment, but he's not finding a way through. He's trying to stay with Carl Crowley and get anything back with this event. He's had himself a very poor run after his incident on lap number 2, but for the time being at least, it does mean that the trains are starting to fracture and splinter slightly. As still, it is 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th who are all nice and close together. You've also got John Morgan in the 177. He's lost the position to Mark Varane, and Varane has simply just waltzed away from Captain Morgan at the moment in that battle, 7th and 8th. It's now 0.8 of a second, and I think Mark Varane is starting to think maybe Fabio Berchold will be a better prospect to try and attack. Look at Ollie Roetgen, though, in the 77. There's Scott Kirchner looking to go down the inside at the first part of the S's. He will now lose all of that tow through the second half. It favours Roetgen, and then through the third half again losing out. And this is where 3 wide can come in, because that's Bob Kern maybe looking to try and pick a lane, but he doesn't want to go down the middle. And so they check each other up, and instead of losing 2 positions where a driver would be more brave, it's only going to be 1 with that very narrow line through that section of track there coming from Scott Kirchner, and that very nearly compromised him through the second part and into this carousel, and not quite finding it at the moment. He's Ollie Roetgen to try and attack and make a way down the inside. No sir, not just yet. He will not find himself an opportunity to go and make this move. Alan Jolly has been patient. He's thinking about the long game, maybe even about the championship as well here on lap 6 of 16. He knows there's no point in fighting this one out just yet. He's going to keep his cards close to his chest until the chips are all on the table. And it is so easy to get it wrong here. This street circuit feel-like track here at Watkins Glen. The barriers are mighty close. We see so often, year on year on year, massive accidents which blockade the track in iRacing and in the real world as well. So there is a lot to try and get right, and the easiest way to get things right is to have a risk-free race, which so many drivers look to find as the gap at the front abstains at around about 2.8 seconds at the moment. Erwin Vandenberg now one vehicle in between the leaders and second, as Robert has to go slightly defensive here as he goes up through the S's section. This is only allowing Aldis Putekilis to get back in on this fight, and he's probably going to streamline his way by on that outside, but the draft is always going to be helping Jolly on that outside line, being towed along by Henri Robert, but through will go Putekilis on that shallow line, but going wide is Henri Robert. He's in the kitty litter, and he will drop 3 positions, jump up and over. Is there damage on the front wing now? Yes, there is, and he is now on a world of his own, and Robert's got a long way back in this. So all of a sudden, in the space of one corner, Putekilis has jumped from 4th position all the way up into 2nd, and he'll be smiling from ear to ear in the Devil's Card, a 666, as he looks to continue to push, as Pete Tinkler has decided to retire the car out of this event, as Steve Cube is down on pit road at the moment, so he's had himself not really the best of runs. Same for Guilherme Cravo, who's also had to come down on pit road over the last couple of laps. Robert, though, starting to fall backwards into the clutches of Fabio Berchtold, and you've got Marc Varane now on the rear. Martin Arnoldus, who starts this one from the very, very back of the field, looking to try and make a way through. There's John Morgan as well, who's desperately trying to stay with this one, but I doubt that he'll have the chance. But this is all about how Robert will adapt to the damage that is on that front wing. It's a little bit more impactful than, say, the Skip Barber 2000s are when it comes to damage on that front, but it is enough that it really does have a big, big impact on how you drive, especially at an aero-dependent track where slipstream becomes so vital and fuel numbers become vital, like Watkins Glen. Berchtold on that last time by officially gained himself almost 5 seconds on Henri Robert, but of course most of that was down to the damage that accrued. Still though, got that battle 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Noyon thinking about going down to the inside of Alan Jolly, and he wasn't going to have a jolly time if he made that move, and as such he's going to have to stick it and wait as Jolly gets all over the rear of Putekilis heading through the carousel, as at the end of this lap we will hit half distance then in this event. Does he look at the chute? No, he doesn't. He decides to just sit and play that waiting game just a little bit longer out on track. So these drivers know that they have to fight. They know that they have to be patient in the way that they fight as well. They know they cannot get too aggressive too quickly. And just looking at the times of who's running those quick laps, it was Arnoldus with a 42.7 that last time by, which was by far and away the quickest driver in the field by a good 0.2 of a second. So he will be the big mover in the second half of this event. He's only 11.5 off of the race leader, Harley Lewis. I don't think he'll get to him by the end, but I certainly think that he will find a lot of positions. Next up on his list is Marc Varane, who did a 43.1 over the course of that last lap. So just keep an eye on that as they look to battle it out and they really try and make this push and try and get themselves further forward. Not too dissimilar in length here, these races, to an official series race. This one, as we are going to go RaceSpot Radio just for a little bit here, ladies and gentlemen. We do apologise for this one. So it will be Martin Arnoldus then heading through the 90, trying to chase down just in front of him Marc Varane and Fabio Berchtold, who is trying to push his way up through the field. Just in front of that, Alan Jolly is within about 3 car lengths still of Aldis Putekilis. Has never looked like wanting to make a move, and he's got to be careful that Noyon just behind doesn't try and attack, who's definitely not close enough this time. And looking at Alan Jolly, he is all over Putekilis through the chicane. He's definitely the best out of the three through that section, but it is everywhere else that he just starts to just drop a little bit of time left and right, which is never really very helpful at all. And what won't be helpful is the fact that there is Erwin Vandenberg just behind Harley Lewis, who is actually giving Harley Lewis a little bit of pressure at the moment, which will not be ideal for Harley as he just tries to run his own race at the front of this one. Arnoldus, though, he has found a way past Fabio Berchtold. He's managed to do that one then. Just coming out of the bus stop, Berchtold lost 2 positions by just running himself wide. Didn't really take the inside line of the corner, and he just dropped himself to the back of the train, which was not ideal in terms of the way that he was running this one. So Arnoldus at the moment still trying to find a way by Mark Varane, and Varane still just holding his station, not really having to be too concerned with the way that he is running this race at the moment. He is in that position inside the top 10 in 7th. Well, actually, he's in 6th at the moment, really showing what he can do. But a poor run coming out of the final corner means that he will move hard to the inside, and he gives all of the track space to Arnoldus, who he knows he's quicker than, or knows Arnoldus is quicker than him, and Arnoldus gets a free bye up into that 6th position out on the road. Alan Jolly, though, still trying to chase down that gap, and he's got that one coming down as they've got 7 laps to go here at Watkins Glen. Defensive line taken by Putekilis. High line going from Alan Jolly in the 064. Club NZ gets very early on the brakes, and he will use that through the second half because Putekilis has run wide, and he's not quite got the overlap that he's wanted here as Jolly's got to go around the carousel if he wants to make that happen. Of course, he's got no grip. All the marbles being deposited on that outside, and as such he's unable to get the move done, and that was not what he quite wanted. We're back with live pictures here, ladies and gentlemen. The battle, 2nd, 3rd and 4th still going on. Jean-Michel Noyon just sitting patiently waiting for some fireworks to happen between those two so that he can just run away and pick up the one position that he needs, as Mark Varane has now finally given up the position to Martin Arnoldus, as we just noted a little while ago. But now we're starting to see maybe a few mistakes creeping in. Bob Kearns found a way through on Ollie Rochen, and Rochen's now falling into his own little battle here with David Baildon. And I think Baildon at the moment is thinking, well, hey, Scott Kirshner is the top 10 at the moment. I have an opportunity to go out there, start fighting, start getting to that top 10, and if I can get that, then that's going to be really ideal for the way that I want to run my race. Not close enough through the left-hander off-camber corner that comes along, as Erwin Vandenberg is going to be very, very cheeky and make his way past Cube, actually. So I thought that he was trying to get past Harley Lewis for a second. Lewis has now made a 5.3 second gap at the front of the field. Such has been the amount that Putekilis, Jolly and Noyon have all been battling here for 2nd position. It is allowing the likes of Henri Robert to maybe start thinking about this. Jolly now starts thinking about going to the inside, but Noyon's going to thread the needle once again, and he's going to move himself 4th to 2nd on the brakes. Great work then by the Frenchman Jean-Michel Noyon, and the 11 is going to make his way through. And a lot of Club France do love running this beautiful ProMaster, which has been a long-time servant here on the iRacing service, and they want to give it a proper send-off. But just look at the times they were doing. 44.4 from Putekilis that last time by. Compare that to Robert, 43.1, but Arnoldus, 42.5. He took 6/10 even out of that from Robert, who does have the damage on the front wing. So right now, Arnoldus could be set to gobble everyone up and take 2nd position here over the course of this one. This lead has been held all 11 laps so far by Carbon Racing's veteran Canadian Harley Lewis out on circuit. So this one's still very much up for grabs for all positions on the podium. And when they cross the line, they've only got 5 laps to go in order to make something happen. Noyon has checked out at the moment. He's given himself about 7/10 of a second here compared to Putekilis, and that was not part of the Putekilis plan, I will tell you that much at the moment. And that 666 car may just have to make a contract with the devil if he wants to try and find himself up a position, because he is going to struggle on the draft as well this lap, because there is the traffic of Steve Cube and Erwin Vandenberg that they are both going to have to negotiate. Alan Jolly as well on the rear of this, let's not forget, when it comes to this battle. So they've still got a lot of work that they have to do if they are going to close this one up for second and make it not a scrap for minor positions. Will Cube yield heading into this next section? This right-left, it's one line suits all, so this is only going to close everything up. And in fact, Cube has a moment and spins it into the tyres, and that I had to feel was a bit of yellow helmet syndrome coming for Cube, who was probably not best placed there in that situation, and it's just allowed Putekilis and also Jolly to now start thinking about getting on that aggressive factor, that aggressive pedal, as now Martin Arnoldus has now made his way to Henri Robert. This is the scrap for 5th, and both of them are now within about a second and a little bit here of making this move. Arnoldus has been fantastic through the toe of the boot, and he will now get to the heel and probably have a try at looking down the inside if he can try and make that one happen. He can't at the moment. He's just going to have to sit and wait for the easy opportunity to make a move. Also, for 7th and 8th, you've got Fabio Birchtold trying to make a way past Mark Varane, but Varane, for the time being, just holds himself a good gap here of about half a second at the moment. 4 to go for Harley Lewis, who leads this event. And now everyone's starting to see how Noyon is so good in those really difficult off-camber corners. It's just giving that gap that's needed here to really go out there. Again, 0.6 of a second. Putekilis is struggling in the last part of this event. Oh, sorry, the last part of the lap, sorry. And that's where he's going to have to try and work out, okay, well, how am I going to get better? Alan Jolly has proven he's the best at trying to hold on to these battles, as now Henri Robert gets under pressure. Here comes Arnoldus, who does prize open like a robber in the night a gap with a crowbar, and he now gets himself up into 5th position momentarily. He now confirms it when he heads through the right chicane that comes up, of course, of that bus stop, and now he sets his sight on a potential podium, which is only just a second away at this stage. Does Jolly now start getting aggressive? He does. He looks to the inside here at the chute, and holding that outside line, Putekilis does very well, and this is only allowing Jean-Michel Noyon a chance to break away here in 2nd position, and they've got to be very cautious about the way they battle this one, because they've got a quicker driver behind and in front, and effectively they are caught in the proverbial bottle at this stage. So Alan Jolly, he's now got to think about the way that he's going to make this move. Can he, or does he have the ability to go out there and make it? He's shown he's good out to turn 1, but really he hasn't shown much else here in this one. He hasn't shown that opportunity that he's needed. Just a little bit further down, David Bailden has got away past Ollie Roetgen in the 77, and he has dropped a mile off the back of the pack. He's now looking at Kern and Kirchner in the battle for the top 10 at the moment, but 3 laps to go, and Jean-Michel Noyon still holds that same gap. Big curbage there from Alan Jolly on the outside, and he will know that just behind is arguably the fastest man in a Pro Mazda at the moment, and that is Martin Arnoldus. Wide goes Putekilis. He has to take to the grass, and that's going to cost his run a little bit here, and this could be the chance that Alan Jolly has been waiting for. Needs to get himself up into this position if he wants to challenge the 11 of Noyon between now and the end of this race, and for the time being, it seems that there is nothing coming from this run because of that draft coming to Noyon. It's now everybody just looking to sit and try and find the right place to strike, and again a wide line taken there from the driver in the 064, Alan Jolly, and it has opened up the door slightly for Arnoldus to go out there and attack, and he's got to try and do it around the outside at the chute, which is not the easiest place to go and make a move, mind you, but he's now going to try and pick up that run off the exit, and he's not quite found what he was looking for. Does he dare dive down the inside at the heel? Sorry, at the toe of the boot? He does. Door opens and he gets himself down the inside. At what cost though? Because they stay too wide heading to the heel. This may have just given the draft away here to Putekilis, who may just have this chance to attack outright one-on-one Jean-Michel Noyon. On the brakes through the right, and Jolly gets a tap. Round he goes, and Arnoldus gets his move, but Jolly gets a spin, and that was jolly well not what was wanted. And I have to be honest there, I think that's a racing incident there. Jolly had a bit of room on the outside he could have left, but I thought it was very courteous there from Arnoldus. He was holding his line for the majority of the corner, the way it does open up on the exit, so that's just something to keep in mind as 2 laps to go. Popsicle sticks in NASCAR terms, with Harley Lewis in control by 5.2 seconds, winding down the power slightly as he does hold that big advantage. to get himself through. Putekilis now starts to think about, where do I battle? How long do I have left? When is the right time to strike in terms of this one? They can't afford to battle too hard because this will allow Arnoldus the chance to get back in, as now to the high side will go Putekilis looking for a move. He pulls himself almost alongside, but he backs out of it then on the brakes into the right-left. He's thinking about the final lap, and will it be a much better opportunity? And I think that answer's yes, but this is allowing Arnoldus a half chance to get in, and maybe even Henri Robert if he can stay within that draft window. Here's some side-by-side action though. Scott Kirchner for 9th position and David Belden, and Kirchner's gone off and he's going to find tyres. He's head on into them, and that was not brilliant. He got the curb on the brakes. He was losing it because he was so tight over that curb. You really do struggle to go too wide through there, and Belden took advantage. He was brave, and he's now got himself 9th. I did say maybe he was thinking of a top 10. 9th is part of that script, with Bob Kern now rounding out the top 10 with Alan Jolly in 11th position just for the time being. But very soon for Harley Lewis, the white flag will come out then on the final lap of this one final time around the 5.42 kilometer 12-turn circuit of Watkins Glen, the boot layout that they have, and it has been unfallible driving from Harley Lewis in the number 4 just for the time being. Jean-Michel Noyon not safe in second. Aldous Putekilis and Martin Arnoldus and Henri Robert all have a shot of picking up a podium, but crucially it's second position where the big battle's happening. Does Noyon run a little bit wide slightly? And this is giving a good chance. It's Putekilis now, who now cranks it up through the gears. 215, 216 up the hill, where the draft becomes so vital over the course of this one. He's already starting to think about pulling to the outside. Noyon will not budge from that inside line, and he's got to go the long way around. Noyon will try and force him all the way up high. He's asserting his dominance as they go into the chicane, the right, left, and around the outside goes Putekilis. They check each other up, and this allows Arnoldus the chance now to start going at it. He thinks about going low, as there's just that slight wider line being taken by Noyon. This is opening up the chance, and Noyon has to go defensive here against Arnoldus. Half attacking as well, Putekilis here in this battle. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Robert is nowhere. He's going to be out of this one just for the moment, but still searching for an inside line. It is going to be Arnoldus. He can't find it for the moment. This is exactly what Putekilis is hoping for at the moment, with 4 corners left in this one. For the time being, this is probably the best overtaking opportunity left on circuit. You've got to be brave if you're going to make a move down here. On the brakes they all go, and they're all fine. They're all going to keep it line astern just for the moment. For Harley Lewis, he's 2 corners away from picking something up. Can anybody find anything through the off-camber right, or off-camber left, sorry? No, not for the moment. Noyon still has to be wary, but for Harley Lewis, a corner remains, and the Canadian starts the season the way that Carbon would have wanted, with victory. Harley Lewis will come to the line, and it's the victory that he was looking for. Putekilis will take 2nd with Jean-Michel Noyon in 3rd. Martin Arnoldus starts from 22nd and makes his way to 4th with Henri Robert rounding out the top 5. Mark Ferran will be very happy with his 6th. Fabio Berchtold getting himself to the line. Belden holding off Bob Kern then all the way to the end, as Kern has to lift out of the final corner, which is allowing Ollie Roetgen the chance to pull back in, but he will not get exactly what he wants. The last couple of drivers who need to finish their laps will be Kari-Pekka Vietlajärvi and Anthony Rice, who have both had some very quiet races all on their own here for this one. But that's practically everybody over the line, and classified results are up on your screen. It's Harley Lewis who picks up the victory, and he does so in 27 minutes and 37 seconds, and he had no challengers throughout the entirety of this one. He walked away with it, 5.5 over Aldous Putekilis in the 666 machine. Jean-Michel Noyon lost that position on the final lap. In 3rd, he finishes overall, with Martin Arnoldus, an outsider, looking in 4th place. Henri Robert gets a top 5 after having a big moment of his own, with Mark Ferran 6th and Fabio Berchtold in 7th place. Captain Morgan, John Morgan, gets 8th position with David Belden in 9th, and Bob Kern rounding out the top 10. Alan Jolly could have been on for a podium, but a mistake in the latter stages drops him back to 11th, with Kari-Pekka Vietlajärvi getting 12th place, and Anthony Rice 13th overall. And then drivers a lap down. Erwin Vandenberg losing it out very early on. Scott Kirchner, Ollie Roetgen, Carl Crowley running into issues. Steve Cubey big issues for him. He had two big ones. Guilherme Cravo failed to finish this one, along with Doug Woodside, Pete Tinkler, and Craig Ridley along with that as well. So those are the issues that those sorts of drivers have been having. So we're going to step very quickly into post-race interviews here with RaceSpotTV. First and foremost, waiting to find himself in for conversation is Martin Arnoldus. Started this one today from 22nd up to 4th position. Deliberate decision then, Martin, potentially to start this one from the back and work your way forward? We have a copy, buddy? Well, it seems that we don't have a copy for the moment, but we do have Harley Lewis that we are going to drag in straight away here for interview. Harley, a good victory, a big victory for you to start the season. Unchallenged, I think you'd say.
I don't think so. I think I had enough battles with my inner demons. Not easy when you're kind of getting away and you see got quite a big gap. You start to daydream and then you make silly mistakes and it ends in tears.
Well, you've been a driver who's been around the iRacing service for many a year and has put so many hours into this Pro Mazda and has understood what it's taken to race at the top. You've raced against some of the best drivers in the world, the likes of the Riku Alatalos, the Kerry Noldens, etc., etc. Now looking at where you are at the moment, you've started this season the way you've wanted to. You've seen some great battling going on behind. How are you thinking about moving on through this race into the next part of the championship? As Martin, we do hear you and we'll be with you in just a moment. But Harley, just how do you feel this is going to go then in terms of setting up your championship push?
It's going to be pretty tough. I mean, there's really good drivers in that grid. I got lucky and kind of got away, and there was a little bit of fighting going on, which opened the gap. So I don't know. Once a couple other drivers that I don't think were here today show up, I don't think it'll be quite as easy up at the front. If anything, it's going to be quite a battle that hopefully we can make through it.
And well, it's a little wait before we head to Barber Motorsports Park for the next round of the championship. Barber, a track which has quite a similar nature in terms of corner profile design, I think, in comparison to Watkins Glen. But definitely a lot more tighter, a lot more twistier. Surely a different style of driving needed?
No, just put the pedal down and hope for the best.
Oh, old school Harley. Before we let you go, any shout-outs or sponsors?
Yeah, thanks for Martin setting this all up. It's a sweet little league. We've had some trouble with the Pro Mazda for participation and getting good splits. So it's nice to be able to sign in and be confident in the guys around you, have a good time at the same time. Apparently I don't know how to speak English. But Carbon Racing, always. The Finns, always. Riku Alatalo, never heard of him. Kerry Nolden, I've heard of him though. Of course, I'm kidding, and thanks for you guys for taking your time this afternoon to broadcast.
Well, no worries at all. Harley Lewis with a big race victory. Martin Arnoldus, I believe we've got microphone working. Martin, starting this one then from the back of the field, an intentional design? We got a little bit of delay here on this one. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get everything working on this one. So I am going to have to say with great regret that maybe we're going to have to wait for next time to talk to Martin Arnoldus. But I think that for the time being, though, that's going to call everything off in terms of proceedings then after what we've seen some great racing in this Pro Cup that we have been seeing, of course, the SimLab Pro Cup, and of course everything that has got things done for us here with RaceSpotTV and Vern Designs, the official graphics partners here at RaceSpotTV, along with ATVO and Apgeneer, the official graphics engine. Of course, our animations brought to you by Simon Grossman. Live timing and scoring was presented to you by Nick Thitten, as well as Istvan Baller's Track Cams 22. Make sure that you check them out. You have to wait till April, though, for the next round of the championship. We're heading to Barber for that one, and hopefully we're going to be seeing some more great racing when it comes to the Pro Mazdas. But for the time being, I'm Jake Sperry. That's Hugo Louise behind the cameras. It's Harley's day. He will smile. And, of course, the veteran knew how to get it done. And, well, another track which has been around forever and a day. He will look to try and get it done once again. We'll see you in a few weeks at Barber Motorsports Park.